The year is 1920. The situation: a large group of cyclists arrive at your tavern. You don't have enough beer to quench the thirst of all these customers, and there's no time to secure more. What would you do next? Stay tuned for the true story. I'm Nikoli Williams, and this is Don't Worry, Beer Happy. Psychopath. So tonight I am joined by a very, very special guest, my dad, Dean Williams. Could you say hi to everybody out there?
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. I know it was a little bit, rushed with work and everything, getting back for it, but we appreciate you coming on.
I'm glad to be here.
So tonight we have some lighter beers. I know we did some heavy beers last time, and if you want to help me show these, since we'll be able to read yours better probably. We have the Bitburger Radler. Okay, so that looks like this, and basically this one is a beer with some lemon. And then we also have the Steigl Radler-Grapefruit. They have many varieties of this, but I think this is probably the most well-known, or at least the most well-liked. So that one looks like this. I think it's very nice-looking can. It's very inviting and welcoming. I guess to start off, I know we've talked a little bit about what a Radler is, but just so that everyone has heard it, so the Radler, these are both very low alcohol beers, and it's because it's a mix of a beer plus usually some sort of soda. So these, the Bitburger is going to be mixed with a sparkling lemonade, and then the Steigl is going to be mixed with just a grapefruit juice. I think the Steigl's 60-40, so it's 60% grapefruit juice, 40% of their Pilsner or whatever it is. And then I'm not exactly sure on the percentage of the other one, but I think it's 50-50. So, Cody, that is that's right. So, Dad, you've been recognized by the Byrne family. So, yeah. So, if you want to go ahead and get started on the first one, I think we can go ahead and pour it, and we can just kind of talk about maybe some more about the origins and German beer in general, because this started in Germany in the 1920s. And so I'm going to go ahead and open mine and pour it. And the story goes kind of how you heard in the intro. There was a group of bikers. They were just biking through Bavaria, and they stopped into a tavern after they were done biking. And the guy who owned it, let's see, what was his name? I forget his name always. Yeah, so his name was Franz Kruger. And being the smart guy that he is, instead of saying, I don't have enough beer for you, I'm not going to be able to serve you all, he was quick on his feet and said, how can I make sure I have enough for everyone to drink? And he took some lemonade, and he took his beer, and he mixed them together. Yeah, a smart guy, I'd say.
Well, I wondered if he actually served full-on beer the first round and then started mixing the fruit juice in. So maybe it wasn't as noticeable because he did sounds to me like he just did this on the fly. He didn't plan this. He just, out of necessity, had to find some more beer quick.
Yeah, I mean I'm not sure exactly if he served full beers at first and then it was like, what do I do to maintain the supply? But at the very least, he brought us his style, and this style actually is very. If you ever had a shandy, it's very close to a shandy, which is the British version. So a lot of people probably had a summer shandy or a pumpkin shandy or something like that. That usually is kind of sweet because of the fruit juice, and the beer is kind of light, and you can't really taste it too much. off the nose, like I can smell this from pretty far away.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
has
the
has a
lemon,
strong aroma.
yeah, the lemon comes through very, very strong. And the moment I poured it, like I have it sitting like a foot away from me down here, and it's still wafting over, and it's very noticeable.
I
Uh,
agree. It's a very strong lemon. It's not a bad odor, but it's a very strong odor.
it's really fresh. I mean, it does give you the vibes of okay, it's summer. You want something refreshing, crisp, clean. It feels like this is what you know what that would give to you. On Untapped, it only has a 3.07, so not the highest rated thing, but definitely middle of the road. I mean, it's a scale of 5, so 307 on an average of. Let me look and see how many ratings it's had. All right, over 16,000 ratings. So, I mean, not a bad score. As you can see, the vital statistics, the SRM, I just kind of estimated at 3. Um, it might be a little bit darker than that, maybe, but it's around there. Then the IBUs they list is 0, so there should be no bitterness really at all in this, and the ABV of this one is 2.5%. So I don't know what their premium pills. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Yeah, so the premium pills is a 4.8% Pilsner. So since that's mixed with this, it must be a little bit less than half fruit juice, I guess. Because if it was 5%, then halfway would be 2.5%, but it's a little bit more alcoholic, so it must be. I guess maybe it's 60-40 beer to fruit juice. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna go ahead and take a sip of it and see my first impressions. So, cheers.
Cheers.
It's definitely interesting. It doesn't really give me the vibe of this is beer at all. It's
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's no undertones to it. I mean, the lemon comes through right in your right on your taste buds
mhm.
more so than any kind of beer flavor
Right.
that
I
I'm
mean,
used to.
and I think that's probably a product of the fact that it's their premium pills. It's very light, very easy to drink, and then the lemon. This is probably just because of its nature being a lemon is very overpowering. It's very light on the tongue too. I feel like there's not a heavy aftertaste. It kind of it's on the tongue. It zips off. It doesn't sit there and make you feel like it's heavy. It's not a very full-bodied beer. It's very light.
Yeah, it was a good description. It's light, it's crisp, it's summery. It's if you're sitting at a bar and you're throwing back, you know, this particular beverage, it's not like you said, it doesn't give you that feeling of drinking beer, so to speak.
Well, if you're sitting at the bar throwing this back, I mean, you'd have to throw back quite a few to feel like you've had anything. I mean, the amount that you'll have to drink is probably going to be prohibitive to drinking any substantial amount of alcohol. I mean, at 2.5%, I mean, you'll have to drink what 4 to maybe feel it in an hour. I don't know. It's so it's definitely something I think that you could session pretty easily. You could let me knock you up on the soundboard here. So I got a report that you are kind of low. So
Kind of low.
yeah, I turned you up a
Is
bit.
that better?
Okay. So yeah, I guess let me know if he's not better. But
Well, hopefully I'll be better.
yeah, you sound louder to me. Overall, is this style of beer the lowest ABV? I mean, I think any beer could have a lower ABV. The fact that this is mixed with fruit juice is the reason why it's so low, though. So, just like any shandy, this is going to have some portion of fruit juice in any of the drinks. And there are a lot of other kinds of mixed beverages. So, I do have a list of some of them. So, this one is called a Radler, right? I think is how you'd say it more in German. I mean, I don't have a good German accent, I'm sure, but they wouldn't pronounce it like Radler, right? So,
Right.
I think it's Radler. But there's something. It's like a Russenmaß, is the name, and it's a Hefeweizen plus lemonade. There's something called Diesel, which I thought was interesting, and the reason it's called that is because the color and the way it looks at the end looks like diesel fuel, and so that is any kind of lager plus a cola. So it could be,
Interesting.
your favorite lager plus Coke or Pepsi or some other cola. There's something called a Cola-Weizen, which is a Hefeweizen plus a cola, which I'm imagining would give you a similar thing, except you'd have a little bit more flavor coming from the yeast in the Hefeweizen. Probably a higher wheat flavor from it. There's something called a Fliega, um, which means aviator, or you can call it a turbo. That is a Weissbier and a cola, so that's going to be probably similar to the Cola Weizen. And the last one is a Krefelder, which is a Pilsner or an alt beer plus a cola. So, I actually didn't know that there were so many kind of mixed beer-based drinks, but there are quite a few from Germany that we have. So,
Sounds like quite a list you had there.
yeah, I've only had shandies, and yeah, is there a difference between Radlers and shandies? I mean, I don't think that there's a specific difference other than the fact that shandies came from Britain, and yeah, and then Radlers are German. Although Austria, which is where Steigl's from, so Bitburger is from Germany, and then Steigl, they're from Austria. And then let's see, we have in Spain they mix their lager with Fanta. Yeah, I could see that being good. I mean, the Fanta's kind of a fruity flavor, just like this.
You got like orange and grape and all kinds of different Fanta flavors that you could add.
Did you have any of that when you were in Spain? Because I know whenever I was hearing stories about him being in Spain, he said that beers were cheaper than water at a lot of restaurants, which
Hmm.
is weird for people in the U.S. Is like that's crazy because water's free, but
Yeah, it's not so the rest of the world though. I mean, especially to the south, and I guess in Europe also, maybe it's better to drink wine or beer
mhm.
instead of the water. I don't know.
Yeah. So you didn't try it. Well, so you should have tried it, man. You could have let us know how it was. I mean, we could do our own Radler or shanty kind of thing and just take it, mix it yourself. Actually, in Germany, until the 1990s, they didn't allow this to be bottled or canned or whatever. It because
On
of
tap only.
well, yeah, it had to be done in the beer garden because they have the German purity law, Reinheitsgebot, and uh, they wouldn't allow juice to go into the beers. Um, so, until the 90s, they didn't allow it. But it's so common that I guess they decided it's finally time for them to start letting people have whatever they want rather than. I mean, the law is still in effect, so it's actually the oldest. That's still valid. The oldest food safety and like consumer protection law that's on the books that we know of, because it was, I think, decreed something like 1523 maybe.
Hmm.
So very very long time ago.
So was our ingenuity of barkeep breaking the law back then? Or are these laws come in effect?
Okay.
after this.
So I'll answer that. So it's actually April 23rd, 1516, not 1523. I was 7 years too late, but whatever. Yeah. So no, he wasn't breaking the law because the beer was already made and he already had the beer, right? And he mixed it in the tavern. So that's fine if you mix it in the tavern, but the breweries cannot brew it with juice in it, or they couldn't. It wasn't allowed. Or I mean, well, technically they can do whatever they want. They just can't call it beer, right? So it's kind of like if you want to call it beer, just kind of like we talked on episode 1 about weird laws. You can't name it whatever you want. It has to follow a certain set of rules. And in Germany, it has to follow the Reinheitsgebot, which was struck down by a European court. So the way it works is actually if you're in Europe and you want to export your beer to Germany and it doesn't follow the Reinheitsgebot, then you're allowed to, because they said it was an unfair dictate on those breweries and it was not like competitive. It was like an anti-competition thing. So if you don't headquarter your brewery in Germany, you're allowed to skirt it and still sell it in Germany as a beer. And if you are in Germany, you have to follow the Reinheitsgebot. And if you're in Bavaria specifically, you have to follow the Bavarian version. Because when we talk about the Reinheitsgebot, there's a couple that are actually there, whereas we only think of the one, right? And so the Bavarian one is stricter than the German one. And so the Bavarian one, let me just make sure I get this right. So you can't use anything but barley, malt, hops, water, and yeast for bottom fermenting beers. So that would be your lagers. But then it also allows malted wheat and malted rye for top fermenting beers. So those are your ales. And then the German one, you can make it with the addition of technically pure cane sugar, beet sugar, invert sugars, modified starch sugars, and any coloring agent derived from those sugars. And funny enough, in northern Germany, it was actually protected that you were allowed to do malt substitution, whereas in Bavaria, you weren't allowed to do that at all. And that was the German Imperial Law of 1873. And one of the funny things that I found is Bavaria, whenever they joined Germany as a state or whatever, the condition that they put on them joining is that Germany would accept the Reinheitsgebot.
It sounds like the Germans and the Bavarians make a lot of laws about beer.
I mean, I don't know that they make a lot.
Are there laws like that in the U.S. about beer?
I mean, there have been weird laws in the past. Like on episode 1, we talked about the fact that in Texas, until not even 10 years ago, that if your beer was above 4% or below 4%, it would change what you could call it. So, I mean, there's weird things like that. I mean, there are a lot of labeling requirements, so you have to get your labels approved by, I don't know if it's the FTC or something like that. You have to apply to release a beer. You can't just think something up, say, here's what we're doing, and just release it. You have to say, okay, here's what we're doing, here's what we want to name it, here's what the label looks like, get it approved. Then you can put it on your can or bottle or whatever, and then you can start, shipping it out. And I think there's a lot of stuff like that in all realms of alcohol, like with whiskeys. If it's not made in the U.S., you can't call it a bourbon. If it's not made, in Scotland, you can't call it a Scotch, or an Irish whiskey in Ireland, that kind of thing. So
Interesting.
So what do you think of this beer? Is it something that you like? Is it not something you drink again?
I mean, it is what it is. It's a nice light, like you said. It's refreshing for an alcoholic beverage. It doesn't hit you with any kind of bite or anything like that. There's not an aftertaste to it. I would drink it again. I mean, it's a nice, light, refreshing drink.
So if you had to rate it on the Untapped scale, because we're all about Untapped here. I love Untapped. I recommend everyone to use Untapped. I don't think you use Untapped, but if you had to rate it on Untapped, what would you rate this?
I would probably rate it about a 3.2 or 3.3, a little higher than what
Okay.
most people, because, if it's a certain mindset when you're drinking this beer, because it is crisp, it's refreshing, but you don't get that beer feel to it as much, but it's
Right.
still a good drink.
Now, do you think that? And hold on real quick. Yeah. So, did you think that? Hmm. So that did an update for me. So you didn't give it a 365. It should have come up with. It should have come up with your score, but it didn't. Do you think that people who rate this? There's your score. Okay. See, look, we're working out the technical difficulties as we go. And let me see if that'll. Okay, so it just cuts off the 0 no matter what. All right. Anyway, do you think that people who drink this beer and rate it a 3.07, do you think they drink it thinking this is going to be a beer, and then when they drink it, they're like, it's not really that great. It's not a beer that I really want. It's not beer.
I think there's probably a certain amount of that because people go into drinking it thinking, oh, it's a beer. Oh, it's a German beer. The German beers, I think, have a reputation for being stout, for being um, some of the best beers brewed. And you drink this, and it's like, this is not really what I was expecting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what I was expecting, but it may not be what a lot of people out
Now,
drinking it would
would you have
expect.
been expecting this if we hadn't discussed anything prior on what to expect from the beer?
If you hid the can and poured it in the glass and said this is a German beer, I would not have expected the taste and flavor I got. I would have been, whoa, that's just not what I expected.
Yeah, I don't know. So I've never had this one before, and I think that it's really good. For the style that it is. So for being a Radler, for being just a very low alcohol kind of beer, I think it's pretty solid. I would definitely get it if I just wanted some refreshing beer and I wasn't so focused on trying unique beers. I think I'm gonna give this a lot higher than its score on Untapped, actually, and I'm gonna give it a 3 point. I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that this is. See, mine shows a 0. Yours doesn't. I don't know. I don't know what's up with that, but I think that people are probably thinking that it's a bit more beery beer than it is, and they don't know that it's an infusion of juice with the beer. I mean, if you look at the can, I don't. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it says it here in German, but I can't read it, so I don't know what that means. Maybe if you could read German, it would tell you kind of what it was. But especially in America, if you just get this can, it's not like it says, "Hey, this has fruit juice in it, sparkling lemonade or whatever." It just looks like it's a lemony flavored beer, and you have a lot of beers like IPAs, for example, that have a bunch of different fruit flavors that aren't fruit infused. They don't have any juice in them, and it just comes from the hops. And so people might be expecting something like that if they've had that before, and then they rate this lower because, well, they were expecting something else.
I agree with that. I think that it's uh it's not something that you would expect just by grabbing it and thinking it's a German beer.
I did put together a list of German beer styles just so that the audience could get a view of the amount of beer, and this isn't even all of them. I'm sure there are a bunch of sub styles that aren't like officially recognized. Maybe there are other styles that I don't have on this list, but there are so many different beers, and this was just a quick off the top of the head kind of thing. Okay, so here's my list that I put together a few hours ago. So
Okay.
you have pilsners, you have a Hell's Lager, which in German that means it's light, so it's light colored. You have Dunkels, which are dark. You have your Kolsch. You have alt beers, Weiss beers, Bocks, Schwarz beers. Uh, you have Berliner Weiss. You have the Marzen or Oktoberfest. You have Gozas. You have Rausch beer. You have so many different beers, and that's just a quick list, right? And I think the history of beer really routes through Germany. I mean, there are other places that did it probably at the same time, but so many of the great lager beers and a lot of the innovation there came from Germany and parts of Germany. Because even in Germany, there are a lot of different cities and parts of Germany that did different things, right? Or they had to do something a different way because of their water. It was hard water or soft water, and so it gave their beers a certain flavor, characteristic that you wouldn't get elsewhere in the country. Um, some of them are named for the city, like the Kolsch. Uh, so I don't know. As a beer drinker who is not, you know, in the scene a lot, you're not looking for the information usually. You might just have one occasionally or whatever. How much do you think about Germany as part of beer culture, as an influencer of the beer that you're drinking?
Well, when I grew up close to Jasper, Indiana, and there's a ton of people that have German heritage in Jasper, and all the guys I knew drank a lot of beer. So I would consider, if we got into a conversation about countries that influenced beer making or that had a lot to contribute to beer, I definitely think Germany would be on that list.
Okay. I mean, for me, when I think about it, at this point, I do think about them as being very influential and being one of the primary places, one of the huge categories of beer producers, and they're responsible for a lot of the different stuff that we see today. But if I go back 5 years ago, I mean, I don't know that I would have thought about them as, and I don't think I would have thought about them at all in terms of beer. It doesn't really click to me at the very least. All these German names, because it's just the name of the beer before you actually know it. So it's a German beer. It's a German word. It means this in German. That kind of thing.
So what countries do pop in your head when you think about countries that have influenced the flavor of beer or the making of beer?
Like at this point, or back before I knew anything about beer.
Well, either way. How about right now?
I mean, right now, I mean, in terms of the craft beer boom, I mean, America is obviously huge. But if you talk about old styles or the roots of beer, you have Germany, you have Britain and Ireland, you have Belgium. I mean, those are three of the big ones right there. And I don't know for sure, but I would guess that there's probably half or maybe even more of the styles that are based on or are the styles that came from those three sets of nations. Like, real quick, I have over here. So I have here some flashcards, right? These are flashcards for beer styles. Now, I guess you'll see it okay, but on stream it'll be a little bit backwards. But these flashcards tell you about all kinds of styles. They tell you the vital statistics. They tell you all that kind of stuff. So when I go through here, it has listed in terms of location where things are from, Belgian beer styles. So on this set of cards, there's 9 Belgian beer styles. And to answer the question, what beer did I say? I did not say wit beer, because wit beer is actually a Belgian beer style. And so then English, Scottish, and Irish ales, we have 7 of them. German and Czech, there's 10 different ones. Then American beer styles. I mean, this is made in America, so it might be kind of influenced heavily in that direction, but there's 14. And then on the more advanced set of cards, we have 5 more Belgian. We have like 10 more English, Scottish, Irish, 10 more German, 4 more American, and then a couple other that are from other regions. So, I mean, those are the big ones that influence all of these styles, or they have their roots in one of those places. Now, before I knew anything, like I didn't really think about, oh, this came from Germany. It's just like, oh, this is a Hefeweizen, and it's fine. It is what it is. I don't really know where it came from, or didn't really care to think about it, I guess.
So if you were going to be stranded on a desert island and you could only choose one country's beer to take with you, which country would you choose?
I mean,
Through the whole
I guess I'll have to choose American stuff because I mean I think it's the most closely related to what I like at this point. I mean, German is really good, but a lot of their stuff is lagered, and I'm not the biggest fan of lagered stuff. I don't think it produces as good flavors as ales. You know, it's fermented at a lower temperature, so the yeast doesn't necessarily give off as many flavors, and there's just less that's done with it. I mean, there are some things like an India Pale Lager, which is similar to an India Pale Ale, where it's kind of hoppy and more bitter, which those are good. And there are some cool things that are done with lagers, but I think the best things with lagers are actually like this. I think is a cool thing. I think with Berliner Weiss, they usually add like a syrup to that, like maybe a strawberry syrup or other kinds of syrup, or at least that's a common thing that people do with that. So I don't know. I think that's the really cool part about it, but I wouldn't want, the more lagered stuff. I would kind of miss Goza. I think Goza is a great style. It's probably one of my favorites. It's a table beer, and they have salt in it, and it's kind of a funky, sour, not overly sour though. It's just a little tart kind of beer that's easy to drink. So, do you have any last thoughts on the Bitburger Radler before we move on to the other one?
No, it's a nice, refreshing little beverage.
Now, is this something that I don't know? So, if you were going to drink a beer every night, would this be a beer that you would drink every night, or would this get old?
I think it would be something I could drink every night for a while. Eventually, anything gets old, I guess. If you drink the same stuff every day or every night. And thinking how early I have to get up and go to work every day, it's a nice option. I think the 2.5% alcohol. So,
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not going to knock you out if you have one. I mean, you probably won't even feel it if you drink it over an entire hour. I mean, it's that low on alcohol. So, I'm gonna go ahead and move us over to the next beer.
okay.
I'm gonna remove our scores there. And our next beer is the Steigl Radler-Grapefruit. Now, this one has a 3.79 rating on Untapped, so I'm expecting really, really good things from this. And this is normally one of the Radlers that's recommended whenever you think about Radlers. So this one is from Austria. The last one, let me see, it was in Bitburg, Germany, obviously, because Bitburger. So that's where the last one was brewed. The Steigl Radler is brewed. Where is this one brewed? I'm actually not sure. It's in Austria. That's all I know. Sorry about it. You can do the research yourself, I guess, if you would like to know. I'm gonna pour mine, and I'm gonna see if I get a similar kind of aroma that's really strong coming off of it. As I'm pouring it, I can already see that it's very, very light also. And I estimated this one just at the same because I wasn't sure. I'd never seen these beers out in the wild. It's actually a lot lighter looking, I think. So
It's a little murkier, a little cloudier, I think.
yeah, that is true. And maybe it's because there's more grapefruit juice in this. So it's 60% grapefruit
Yeah,
juice.
I definitely think it's got an even stronger aroma than the Bitburger had.
Yeah. I don't know. Hold on. Um, hold on. Does it say it on the graphic? Dan, hold on. Oh yeah, brewed and bottled. But yeah, okay. Well, no. Hold on. Is that not the name of? Isn't that just in? Hold on. No, we're gonna find out right now. We're gonna figure out where this is.
Salisburger Steigl.
Yeah. Okay. So it's in Salzburg. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it is on there. I just wasn't sure um, if that's where it was, but all right. So it's in Salzburg, Austria. Yeah. This one. I don't know. I feel like I have to lift it up to actually smell it. Honestly, like this other one, I felt when I poured it, I could smell it immediately. This one, I'm not getting as intense, but if I do lift it up, it does have a nice, refreshing grapefruit smell. It doesn't smell as harsh. I don't know. I think this one does smell nicer. Maybe I don't get as much grapefruit in my life in general, but or maybe I just don't like lemon as much as I like grapefruit. But I think this one definitely smells nicer.
Yeah, it has a strong smell also. I think when you get it close to your nose, like you said, it's really more aromatic than the Bitburger. I don't know. I'm more of a lemon fan. I fall on the other side of the fence. I'm more of a lemon fan than a grapefruit fan. So maybe I just notice the grapefruit scent more because I prefer the lemon scent.
Right. I mean, it's not like the lemon one's bad. I think it's really good too, but I don't know. I don't really eat grapefruit. I don't really eat lemons either, to be honest. I might squeeze a lemon into a water every now and then, but I can't remember the last time I had a grapefruit. It's probably been 5, 6 years at least.
Well, does anybody really just eat lemons? I don't know anybody that just goes and eats lemons. You always put it in stuff.
I
It's
mean,
make lemonade, you squeeze it on chicken.
you'd be surprised. There are people who just take lemons, bite into them, and eat it. I mean, it's probably horrible for the teeth. I don't know, but it's not something that I want to do. And yeah, Dan pointed out in chat that it tells you on the label here that this is mixed with the fruit soda, so you know what's coming, right? It's not like you're gonna get it. I mean, maybe that's why the rating's higher because it says in English that it's beer with fruit soda. That's gonna be my theory. I don't know if it's true or not, but it seems to me that this one is very highly rated and the other one's not. Maybe after trying it, it'll be evident that it's just a better beer. I don't know. But my current theory is that because in English it says that it's beer with fruit soda, people have an expectation of what it's going to be, whereas the other one, they don't.
Yeah, maybe a sound hypothesis. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah. So who bites into lemons? Look, Dan. I mean, I can talk about it later off stream, but it's people do it. It's a thing. Hmm. I mean, I like it. It's a different kind of flavor. I feel like it's less clean than the Bitburger.
More complex. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. It's still very refreshing, very light. There's not a lot of body to it. You're not going to drink it and feel like, oh, I can't drink any more of this beer because it's just so heavy on my stomach. It's something you could definitely just easily drink. I mean, at 2%, 8 IBUs. So it does say that there are 8 IBUs in this. So this technically should be more bitter than the Bitburger version.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I can kind of get that.
Yeah, it's not as light as a Bitburger in my opinion. Yeah, it's still light. Don't get me wrong. It's still refreshing, but it's not as clean. That's a good way to put it. It's not quite as clean as a Bitburger.
Yeah, because I think if you drink the Bitburger, it's sort of a palate cleanser, right? You could eat or drink anything before it, drink the Bitburger, and it's kind of going to reset it to some standard level. Whereas this, I think it still does a similar thing, except it's not as efficient at doing it. It's a little bit, like you said, it's more complex. There are more flavors. I think it's a little bit stronger in taste, and because a grapefruit is probably not as common as a lemon, it to me seems like there's a little bit more going on. You know, you can go into a restaurant and they'll give you lemons. Yeah, I've never seen a restaurant just hand you a grapefruit to put in your water. So
Yeah, I haven't seen that done either. But then I haven't seen people bite into lemons, so I'm out of this conversation.
I mean, look, I don't know why you'd be surprised, but people do a lot of things. It's it So I just got a message here that says you never did the salt tequila lemon. So lemon, no, it's usually, well. First of all, the salt is irrelevant. Look, I'm just gonna drink the tequila straight most of the times, but I mean, if I'm gonna have a lemon or a lime, I'm gonna pick a lime. I've never done it with a lemon. I don't know. Maybe other people like lemons more for that. I don't know. I'm just a neat kind of person anyway. Like if I'm gonna drink whiskey, I'll just have it neat. I don't need any rocks. I don't need any craziness. I don't need it to be in a drink. You know. So the same way with tequila, I'll just take the shot and get it over with, I guess.
I'll just take a shot and get it over with. It doesn't sound like you're having a lot of fun there with that. But...
That's exactly why I don't order tequila shots. Although, you know, over summer, whenever Robbie visited, he did order us tequila shots, and I mean, I wasn't happy about it, but they had already brought them over. So what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? Order limes, I guess, in your case.
Well, no, I just took it straight and went about my day. I mean, it wasn't the most pleasant thing, but you know, is what it is. So.
Tequila's definitely not a pleasant thing. I mean, and that's just my opinion. Tequila's beer you can drink just to enjoy the drink or drink it to cool off or just because you like it. But tequila is an acquired, yeah.
I mean, there are some really good tequilas. I actually had a tequila that was like imported from somewhere extravagant, and I mean, you know, it's not bad. Rum is another one. I've had some Caribbean rum that's been really good. Very strong stuff though. So yeah, okay. So on this one, what do you get in terms of a comparison from the Bitburger to the Steigl Radler? Number wise. So we're going from 0 to 5. You had a 3.2 on the Bitburger. Where does this one compare?
For me, I would probably give it a little bit of a lower rating. Probably I would give it a 3.0, maybe 3.05, 3.1. And it's just because I prefer the Bitburger to the Steigl. Just the crispness and the lightness of it. It's still a light beverage. And there are more complexities there, but I just for a refreshing, you know, unwind drink that's not gonna impact you a lot. I think the Bitburger's a little better.
Yeah, when I'm thinking about it, there's a difference in flavor. There's a difference in how it feels when you drink it, but I personally am gonna say I'm rating it the same as I did. I think this one is a 3.5 also. I think maybe I just can't discern too much of a difference, but I think either of them are fine. I mean, I don't know how it's that close to a 4. I don't think it deserves to be that close to a 4. Maybe I'd like it more if it was in the summer, it was really hot, and, you know, there wasn't snow on the ground outside. You know, maybe if it was an 85-degree day out by the pool, I would like it more. I don't know. But, yeah, I think they're both 3.5. I think they're good. I mean, I'm not going to rave about them all the time, but I think they're good versions of a Radler. The style is, it has a lot of good things in it. in terms of shandies that I've had, I really like pumpkin shandies. I don't know if you ever had one of those, but those are good. Um, I want to say there's a lot by Shock Top that are shandies. I think Shock Top has some decent shandies. Um, yeah, I think 3.5 is fair. I think you rating it based on the fact you like the lemons better is definitely fair too. I mean, I think I don't really care which fruit is in it. I'd actually like to try more of the Steigl Radlers because they do have more than just the grapefruit. They have 2 or 3 different ones, I think.
Like blackberry and raspberry or something like that, I think.
Yeah, I know
Those look,
raspberry for sure. I don't know about blackberry. I didn't see that one when I was at the store, but I know there are a few, which I would definitely try those just to see if there was much of a difference or not, or if it was just sort of a subtle flavor change.
yeah,
Whenever you,
I agree.
whenever you think about light beers, because what would you say your favorite beer is, right? I mean, I know you're not like a hophead, you're not a stout guy.
Yeah, I'm more of a cider guy than a beer guy. I would probably say Michelob Ultra. I mean, it's a lighter mass market beer.
St-
It's
Still
better when it's
supposedly full
cold.
bodied. I mean, I've only had it once, I think, in Colorado, but yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people who do like it. So, if you had the choice of a Michelob Ultra or Bitburger Radler, what would you pick?
Right now, I'd probably pick a Bitburger. Um, at least until I got burnt out on them a little bit. But it's a nice, crisp, refreshing drink. So I would drink that for a while. I would definitely drink it again. I don't think I'd pick the Stiegel up again.
Yeah,
But the Bitburger, I would drink another.
I mean, for me, I don't know. I probably wouldn't buy either of them again unless I'm doing it for like a gathering or something. Like I'm not gonna be drinking these just in my off time. Probably. I don't think there's enough going on, especially whenever there's tens of thousands of beers out there that you can try. I mean, there's just so much out there. I think they're both really good. I think they're both very reasonable in terms of you could like one or the other a lot better. I think either one's fine. I don't know. I mean, when I look at them, I don't have any strong feelings towards one or the other. I just think they're both good. They're both solid. You know, that's kind of my opinion on them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're both pretty solid and for what they are, and they're not a dark beer. They're not anything like that. Uh, and I think they both do their job. I just think the Bitburger does it a little bit better.
Now, do you think this would be a good intro beer for people who say, "I don't like beer"? You know, I hear this a lot. You ask somebody what if they like beer, they say no, right?
Right.
I don't know what beer they've had. Maybe it's just Bud Light or something, which admittedly is not great. It's fine if you're into that, but um, if you're looking for something that has flavor to it, that has something more than just alcoholic sweet water almost. Like, do you think this would be something that they might like?
I think so. The beers you're talking about, Bud Light and Coors Light and the domestic beers that are mass produced, they all have that beer to one extent or another, that beer aftertaste and aftertone after you drink them.
Mm.
Where I don't get that with the Bitburger. You still get a little of the beer. It's not as heavy a beer taste as the domestic mass stuff, but it's there a little bit. But it's a lot more refreshing. I think yeah, people would pick it up and wow, this is really for a beer. This is really tasty.
Yeah, I think that this is definitely a quote gateway beer. I think you would be able to drink this and be like, okay, you know, there's some stuff out there that's not what I've had in the past that's actually pretty good. I personally, whenever I drink this, if I had this, I wouldn't think immediately. Like if I was blindfolded, right, and I drank this, I wouldn't at first think, oh, that's beer, just because it is so heavy on the fruit. You know, the fruit shines through in both of these. You get a very fruity flavor coming through immediately. There's not really a beer aftertaste on either of them. I don't get a ton of carbonation or anything. I don't. I mean, I know there's some. It looks like there's a little bit more probably in the Bitburger, but yeah, I think it's something that people could drink and just be like, wow, this opens up a whole new world of things. I mean, there are a lot of styles that are similar, that are light, that are refreshing. Like I mentioned before, you have the Goza. I mean, there are a lot of different lagered kind of things that come from Germany, and a lot of the different lagers do have a light character to them. I mean, there are some heavier beers like Box and stuff in Germany, but or double Box even, which could be like 9-10% and very, very malt forward, I think. But yeah, like these, I would highly recommend to anyone who says they don't like beer, because it's, you know, only partial beer, partial juice or lemonade or soda or whatever. I think the mixture, it's kind of like maybe a mixed drink almost, you know. It's like, oh, well, I wouldn't take a shot of vodka, but I might drink, you know,
Vodka and orange juice, a screwdriver,
something like that, yeah. So I think it's sort of a similar thing.
Yeah, I think you could be onto something with that. And I think that it would appeal to people that aren't your traditional, buy a case of beer and knock it down kind of people.
Yeah, so we have a comment that says I should do a non-alcoholic beer episode. You know, I really wanted to do this, and I've been trying to plan it. So there will be one upcoming at some point. I don't know exactly when. I don't know the format of it, but you know, it is a good idea crowning the best non-alcoholic beer. I think we could probably do maybe make it sort of like a not like an America's Got Talent or something, but just have like a panel of judges, right? You just have the beer, you have some judges, we all rate it, maybe even blind. We rate it blind, and at the end we tally up all the numbers, and then we see who wins. I think that would be kind of a fun concept for an episode.
That would be cool. Yeah, I think that would be fun.
So, thinking, because I don't really have too much more. I know this is a kind of shorter episode than we have been, which may be kind of nice. The beers are really light, so we only had 2 of them instead of 4, so it wasn't as difficult to get through. But when I think about what's upcoming, next week I believe we will be having a pairing show, so it'll be a dessert pairings, and to be decided on the beers and the desserts.
Do you think that these beers would be good as dessert beers?
Now, by dessert beer, do you mean like dessert beer, or do you mean a beer paired with the dessert?
A beer paired with dessert. Not a beer for dessert, but a beer paired with a dessert.
Right. Well, I mean, I think these are light enough that they could complement maybe some sort of fruity dessert really well. I don't know how. They would probably go well with anything, really. Like, if it's a really heavy dessert even, it would probably cleanse your palate. So, like, if I had a super fudgy, chocolatey dessert, maybe this Bitburger, the lemon in it, would kind of lighten it up a bit. I don't know. I mean, that's just a estimation. It wouldn't be the best combination, I don't think. But definitely maybe some sort of fruited dessert would go well, especially if the fruits pair well together. So, I don't know. If you have something that pairs well with citrusy things, put it with the Bitburger, and then the light would, I don't know, I think make it pretty good. And you know, because it's so light, it's not like it's going to be overpowering. It's not going to mess things up too bad. It's kind of like drinking water almost with a dessert. It's like, it's fine. It's not going to hurt it, in my opinion. But
well, it just, I don't know about the citrus drinks, but like the berry rattlers, like raspberry paired with chocolate, I think that would be really good. Yeah, chocolate raspberry, chocolate lemon. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm ready for that taste sensation.
well, look, I don't know how good it would be in terms of the pairing, and I don't think it would be the best, but I do think it would be fine. Like, I don't think it's going to be bad, and I do think it'll be a palate cleanser. You know, if I ate a brownie, I could drink it. You know, if I'm thinking about how chocolate tastes right now, I drink the Bitburger. I definitely feel like it's going to not be chocolate anymore. Now the mix of the flavors, yeah, it might not be good at all. I don't know. And the raspberry, it could be okay. I don't know. It might not be raspberry enough. It might be too beery.
Well, that's true.
Normally, with very heavy desserts, your stronger flavored desserts, you're going to want a stronger flavored beer to balance it out. So, you might have like a stout or something with a fudge brownie or something like that. And maybe we'll have some of that next week. I don't know, but
Well, one thing I saw at the store were several beers that were coffee flavored or coffee based. So now a lot of people, myself included, sometimes drink coffee, after dinner was a palate cleansing type of beverage. So maybe some of the coffee beers would be, maybe they'll show up on your show.
yeah, maybe. I think the coffee beers are definitely stronger beers. Normally, if it's coffee, it's going to be a stout. So you're going to want to pair it probably with some sort of chocolate or some sort of, even a coffee dessert even would work. I'm not a huge fan of coffee, but coffee beers I think are fine. In beer school, actually, we had to, I don't know if we had to chew on it, but we definitely had to taste a coffee bean just by itself, uh, which wasn't the most pleasant thing ever, but um, that was
They do make,
before I ever really had coffee beers too.
yeah, they do make chocolate covered coffee beans as a snack.
What?
Seriously. Yeah, you just take them out of the bag and eat them. They're roasted, of course.
I
Hey, you see people that just take bites of lemons. I mean, I see people eat coffee beans.
yeah, I don't know about that one. That oh. Yeah, Dan says never eat a coffee bean straight, and that is 100% my advice. I don't know what else to say about that one. Coffee to me, I don't drink coffee in general, right? So I mean, I already am like kind of iffy on the flavor of it. Like it's fine, but I don't want to all foo-fooed up coffee. I don't want this cream, sugar. If I'm gonna drink coffee, just give me the coffee. I'm gonna drink it black. It's just that's how it's gonna be.
Okay, fair enough.
And he also says that a chocolate covered coffee bean sounds terrible. Also, well, I mean, I would be down to try it one time, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to find it. I've never seen it before, so I don't know. I won't be trying it in the near future, but maybe one day. So, you have any other closing comments? Any final thoughts? Anything you want to tell the audience?
Well, you know, uh, whatever you drink, whether it's coffee or beer or tequila, make sure you drink responsibly. But but don't worry.
And beer happy. See, look, you already did the closing. I wasn't ready for it yet, but once again, thanks everybody for watching. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. It was fun. Just
It
chit
was
chatting
fun.
about beer, doing a little bit of research. I think that this one, I think this one's a hit for your beer likes. I tried to get something that you would enjoy, and I think we hit the mark here.
I would agree. It was fun. Both the beers were pleasant, um, and and I enjoyed it myself a lot.
Well, we'll have you on again at some point. Definitely won't be a stranger to the show, hopefully. And that's all I have for today. This, I think this one was a good one, kind of short, but I think we hit a good time mark. So if you want to do the actual closing with me now, as we do. Um,
Okay, drink responsibly and don't worry.
beer happy. Thank you guys very much, and have a good night.
Good night.